You are listening to Real Estate Today. To reach Deb tomorrow or with questions and comments about the show, please send an email to Deb at realrealestatetoday.com. That's Deb at realrealestatetoday.com. Now, back to this week's program.
Okay, thank you for coming back. We always get way off topic in like a minute 30 during break, and then I'm like, focus. Okay, so we are talking today about the step of searching for a home. So we've talked about preparing to buy a home and all the fun stuff you need to do to get ready to do that. But today we are going to talk specifically. So if you haven't listened to the previous 2 episodes, I highly recommend that. And we're also going to be breaking these down into smaller, like 10-minute segments or so. So go back and listen. Probably listening in order would be the best thing to do, just to kind of keep things nice and linear for you. But this comes from a homebuyer seminar that I've taught for years. And so if you listen to all of these kind of in a row, it'll all certainly become crystal clear, and all of a sudden you'll be a homeowner before you know it. So let's talk a little bit about searching for a home. This is a conversation that I typically have with people when they come into my office. I say, where are you looking when you're laying in bed at night at 2 a.m. and you can't sleep? Because I know you're looking at homes in your iPad. So where are you looking? And most of them say Zillow, and then I make gagging noises and we all laugh. But then I want to explain to them how a listing is born, basically. Where does that listing information come from? How does it get to Zillow? Because I think that's important to understand so that you understand why information can be different on different websites. So when I get a new listing, I input it into a local database. I belong to a board of realtors. We encompass Monroe, Owen, and Greene County, Indiana. So there are different regions of board of realtors, and we all have our own systems. And they're all slightly different for the most part, which is kind of frustrating. But that means that if someone asks me about a home that's in a different part of the state, I don't have the same access to the information that a realtor who is in that, Fort Wayne, which is 4 hours away or whatever. I don't have the same access to information there and the same knowledge. And you really should be using someone who knows the area locally. But I put my information into the local database. That then feeds into a public side of that local database. What that means is that there is a database out there. In our case, it's Homefinder.org. That is only listings that are listed by people who belong to my board of realtors. So every once in a while, we get this rogue realtor that comes down from Indianapolis and thinks they're going to list a house in our area. And we all make faces because we're very territorial. We're like, what are you doing out here? Because they belong to a different MLS, a different board of realtors. And so they can't put that listing into our MLS for local realtors to see. So they put it into the Indianapolis system. So if you are looking for homes at homefinder.org, which, by the way, complete aside, but if you are on homefinder.org, we are undergoing a huge redo of that website, public side, which is really exciting. And I think it's going to be coming out within a month.
Oh, that is exciting.
Yeah, so I didn't realize it was that far along, but now I'm on the board of directors for the board of realtors and find out all these things. I'm like, oh, look at that. If it's supposed to have a lot of better searching functionalities, what happens is in Monroe County, a lot of people don't like our current local MLS. So they go and they search on Trulia and Zillow, but they don't get all the full information. So we're hoping that this will help with the new system. So I input into the local MLS. It goes over onto the public side, and then eventually it starts to feed out to all these different databases. And there's thousands of them. I mean, RE/MAX has their own site. All these different brokerages have their own site that you can search for homes on. Zillow, Trulia, AOL, homes.com, realtor.com. Now, realtor.com is owned in part by National Association of Realtors, so that's a pretty good solid feed. Zillow and Trulia are just sort of taking the information that's out there, which is why sometimes the information isn't correct. The other thing that you don't typically get from most of these other websites, this is how I explain it. I don't know if it makes sense to me. I don't know if it makes sense to anyone else, but our local database is designed a certain way. Then it's trying to communicate with all these other databases, Zillow and Trulia. They're their own databases, and they're designed slightly differently. So things can get lost in translation when they try to communicate with each other. Now, the local, our homefinder.org, that is a straight one-to-one designed to communicate absolutely clearly with each other. So you're going to get the most accurate information there. And you're also going to get the most robust information there. You're going to get good information about taxes and good information about attachments and disclosures. And sometimes the seller writes a list of here's the things I've done to improve, and they put it as an attachment to the listing. And you'll find that on our local, where you won't find that on Zillow or Trulia. So I tell people that if you look on whatever website you're most comfortable, that kind of gives you the search capabilities and parameters that you want. But if you find something you really, really like, you might go over to your local, in our case, homefinder.org, and look it up there. Does that make sense?
It makes sense to me. Yes.
You've heard me say this 5,000 times too, though.
No, but I've had someone just this week or at the end of last week said, well, the listing says that they're only entertaining offers with a certain amount of money down. And I said, how do you know this? Well, I'm reading it in the description, and I said, I'm on the homefinder.org, our local, and he swore he was. And I said, I'm not seeing the same thing. He had to have been on another website that said that and essentially what he was saying to me and what I was interpreting was they wanted like a conventional type of financing type of situation. But I don't know what he's looking at. And I said, I can't answer that. But that goes back to that there's such a difference in the information that is being shared or, lost in translation.
Yeah, that's a great example. I just like to think of Zillow and Trulia and those other websites as sort of a guide, but certainly not the Bible. Right. Your local MLS is going to be the Bible in terms of the most accurate data that you can possibly find. The other big frustration that we have in our market, and I'm sure other markets are like this too, is that you can't easily tell if a house has an accepted offer on it. And again, that can be an issue of the databases not talking to each other clearly. We have ways that we categorize. So it's active means it's available. Active contingent means that it does have an offer. It's contingent on a bunch of stuff. You might be able to show it for a backup offer, but typically, we're just kind of waiting to see how inspections go. And then there's pending, which means we're through inspections and it's solid and it's not available for backup offers. And a lot of those websites don't read our active contingent status because not all markets are set up with that kind of status. Mm-hmm. So it's a big frustration that there are times of the year where people send me a list of 10 houses that they like, that they see online, and possibly 7 of them already have accepted offers on them.
Sure.
So I always tell my clients, to look up and send me when you see a house you like, and I'll look it up real quick in my super secret realtor side of things and tell you if it has an accepted offer or not. And I'm always happy to do that. So that's kind of a little bit on how it works. Now, here's an interesting aside. You know how it used to be done before computers?
I would have no idea.
Yeah, because it's kind of overwhelming to think about, right? I mean, I think buyers just drove around and looked for signs, which is why signs were so important. Mm. And they're not so important these days. They're basically used for the realtor to go, oh, this is the house. Okay, I'm at the right place. All right, good. They had books in each real estate office. So when you got a new listing, you created listing sheets and you filled out certain information and you maybe photocopied some pictures after you got them developed. And then you took sheets around to each real estate office, and they had big giant books, and they would
put your listing in
in the book.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And then when a realtor was looking for a house for a client, then they would go through the book and see what they could find.
Yeah, no.
I can't even imagine.
It's like the, I'll go back old school. It's like the old catalogs that used to come in the mail right for Christmas time, and you would sit there and make your wish list through.
Right, the Sears catalog.
Or JCPenney's or whatever.
Exactly.
I don't think I could do that.
Yeah. So anyways, that's how that was done. So it was kind of interesting. So now it's more of a joint effort. So in those days, you really relied on your realtor to, kind of point you in the direction of homes.
So with that being said, and then if a house was under contract or pending, would they just pull it out of that book? And that's how you would know? Okay.
Probably. But I mean, my guess is that they would, the realtor would probably have to call the listing realtor,
Gotcha.
For everyone and just make sure it's current and updated. So in today's market, it's more of a joint effort where, my clients are always looking for homes I don't know if they ever actually work because they're always sending me homes all day long when they're supposed to be at work. But, and then I'm looking too, because I'm obsessive about new listings. And the second they pop up, I'm looking at them. So it's kind of a joint effort to figure out, find homes that are available and sending them to each other and, answering questions. So that's a little bit different. And especially in a seller's market like we're in today, I think it's really important to think outside the box. One of the things that I dig in my heels and get really stubborn about is that I don't set people up on automated searches. I know a lot of realtors do that. I think that in our market, especially here in Bloomington, it's a hindrance because I think you end up relying on that. And we have a lot of unique homes and a lot of unique neighborhoods, and it's a seller's market. You have to think outside the box a little bit sometimes. Right. So if you say, I want to be in this exact area, well, you know what? If it's right outside, but everything else about the house is perfect, it might be worth a look, or if you put a price cutoff, but maybe there's a special situation where, something's been on the market for a while and we could bring the price down or try and negotiate down. I mean, there's just too much. I'd rather just look at every new listing that comes on the market, go through my Rolodex in my head of clients and say, this could be a good fit. And I just do that, 4 or 5 times a day as I have a break between things. And I think you just increase your chances. The other thing I wanted to touch on in terms of looking at homes is there aren't secret places to find homes that are for sale.
Yeah, like the secret list.
Yeah, you sent me. Would you just send me something?
I sent you a link that I had just received an email from a national, magazine that talked about, someone, I think they were in a band or something, but anyways, but that
it was a punk rock guy. Yeah.
Yeah. But that they had this, for a certain fee that you could click here and we would send you this list of pre-foreclosure homes and things like that. And it's clearly those, there shouldn't be a fee if there are such lists, but the thing is that there aren't. There isn't a list, and
And I think the thing to think, we'll have to post that. Did I send you that article, Rachel? Okay, yeah. There was this punk rock guy, and then he ended up getting arrested. Here's the thing: think about this logically. I just want to shake my fist and say logically, if you were trying to sell something, don't you want as many people to know about it as possible?
Absolutely.
Where is the logic behind secret lists? There is no logic behind that. And there are a lot of things in this life that are illogical, but this is not one of them. This makes total sense. You want to expose the home to as many people as possible, try and drum up interest, try and drum up competition. This is free market, Mr. McGeth Economics, 12th grade, Lawrence Central High School. All right. So there are no secret places. What I do tell people is don't wear yourself out trying to, I think I have clients who every day they look at Zillow, they look at Trulia, they look at homes.com, they look at realtor.com, they look at all these websites, and you're just looking at the same damn homes. I mean, there really isn't stuff that's going to be on one or the other. It's going to appear that way because Zillow is going to show you a lot of these pre-foreclosures that aren't really homes for sale. They're just homes that the person's behind on their payments and is public record, and that's really sad that they put that out there for everyone. So there's no secret. Pick a website, stick with it, go with the one your realtor recommends, and you will get good, solid information. So that's the first part of searching for a home, and we're going to talk a little bit about reading those online listings and house showing etiquette when we come back from the break. So stick around. You're listening to Real Real Estate Today, your home for smart real estate.